service dog waited outside his old handler's room, refusing to leave, no matter how many times staff tried to move him. "He doesn't even remember you," one nurse said. "He's too far gone." But the dog stayed. Then one morning he quietly laid down in front of the veteran, and the next thing they knew, all those buried traumatic memories came flooding back. So what exactly did that dog do? And what did the veteran finally remember? First, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling us where in the world you're watching from. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. The fluorescent lights of the VA psychiatric facility cast harsh shadows as Sergeant Thomas Grady stared vacantly out the window. 6 months had passed since his transfer from Walter Reed, but time held little meaning in the fog that consumed his mind. The rain tapping against the glass mirrored the disconnected fragments of memory that occasionally surfaced only to slip away before he could grasp them. "Good morning, Sergeant Grady," came a voice from the doorway. Dr. Elaine Monroe stood with his chart, her expression professionally compassionate. "How are we feeling today?" Thomas didn't turn. "Same as yesterday, Doc. Empty." His voice carried the rough edge of a man who'd been shouting orders over gunfire not long ago. The scar along his jawline was merely external evidence of what the IED had done. The true damage lay beneath his skull, where memories had been shattered like glass. "Your latest scans show continued physical healing," Dr. Monroe began, taking a seat. "Spare me the medical mumbo-jumbo," Thomas cut in. 6 months of tests, and all you people can tell me is that I should remember, but I don't." These abrupt transitions from lucidity to confusion had become a hallmark of his condition. One moment, he spoke with a soldier's authority. The next, he'd become hostile, lost in partial flashbacks without context. "You were a sergeant in the 5th Special Forces. 3 tours in Afghanistan, injured 6 months ago in Kandahar," she reminded him, repeating their daily foundation. "So you keep telling me," Thomas muttered. "But it's just words. I don't feel it." The medical staff approached Thomas with caution. 3 orderlies had been injured during his violent episodes. His physical strength had returned faster than his mental stability, making him dangerous when combat memories triggered responses without context. Dr. Monroe had taken his case when 2 previous psychiatrists requested reassignment. Where others saw a risk, she recognized a wounded warrior trapped between memory and oblivion. "Today, we're going to try something different," she said. Thomas laughed bitterly. "Another miracle cure?" "None of the above," Dr. Monroe replied. "Something unexpected has arrived for you, something from before." The commotion in the East Corridor drew attention as a uniformed officer led a Belgian Malinois through security. The dog's ears perked forward suddenly, its gaze locking onto Thomas from 30 yards away. Before the handler could react, the Malinois lunged forward, dragging the officer several steps. "Heel, Valor!" the handler commanded sharply. Something about the name sent a shiver through Thomas, though he couldn't place why. He retreated to his room as staff converged around the visitors. Within the hour, Dr. Monroe appeared at his door with a folder. "Sergeant Grady, there's someone who may know you, a military working dog named Valor. According to these papers, he was your canine partner for 14 months in Afghanistan." Thomas stared blankly. "I don't remember any dog." "That's not surprising given your condition, but his handler has documentation showing Valor was your assigned partner during your last deployment." "My partner?" Thomas repeated, the words feeling foreign. "That's impossible. I would remember that." "Would you?" Dr. Monroe asked gently. "You don't remember your squad mates or commanding officer." Before Thomas could respond, a commotion erupted in the hallway. The Malinois had broken free and bolted to Thomas's door, ears forward, body vibrating with energy. "Get that thing out of here!" Thomas shouted, backing away. Something about the dog's intense focus unnerved him. The handler arrived moments later, apologizing as he clipped the leash back on. "I'm sorry, sir. He's never done this before. Valor is usually disciplined to a fault." "I don't know this animal," Thomas snapped. "I don't want it near me." The dog whined softly, a sound somehow more distressing than its determined approach. Its eyes never left Thomas's face. "This wasn't my arrangement," Dr. Monroe explained. Your former commanding officer arranged this. He believed seeing Valor might trigger your memory recovery. Thomas stared at the dog, feeling only irritation. Well, it doesn't. Take it away. As the handler pulled Valor back, the dog resisted, planting his paws on the threshold. The struggle wasn't aggressive, but determined. I'll allow Valor to remain temporarily, Dr. Monroe decided. Not in your room, but in the common areas. Thomas turned away dismissively. Do what you want. You always do. As they led Valor away, the dog looked back, a soft whine escaping that seemed to contain equal parts recognition and pain. 3 days later, staff had begun documenting Valor's unusual behavior. The Malinois positioned himself where Thomas would encounter him throughout the day. During physical therapy, Valor would appear in the hallway outside, watching through the glass. When Thomas ate in the common area, the dog would settle precisely 12 feet away, close enough to observe, but beyond the distance that triggered Thomas's agitation. It's like he's running surveillance, remarked Jim, an orderly who had served in the Marines. That's tactical positioning. On the fourth night, security cameras captured Valor opening the supply closet containing Thomas's personal effects. The dog extracted his combat boots and carried them to his door, placing them precisely at the threshold. Thomas discovered the boots next morning. Rather than his usual rage at intrusions, he stood staring at them before placing them in his closet instead of discarding them as he had other items. The following night, Valor retrieved something else, a set of dog tags. These too were placed at Thomas's door with deliberate care. During therapy sessions, Valor waited outside Dr. Monroe's office. On difficult days when Thomas's frustration escalated toward violence, the dog would scratch at the door until someone opened it, then position himself between Thomas and the doctor, not aggressively, but protectively. He's not threatening, Dr. Monroe noted. He's intervening, trying to calm Thomas. Most revealing were unguarded moments. Surveillance showed Thomas watching Valor from his window. Staff caught him holding the dog tags Valor had delivered, a private connection he wouldn't acknowledge. By the second week, the balance between Thomas's resistance and Valor's persistence began to fracture. The breaking point came during a group therapy session Thomas had reluctantly attended. 5 veterans sat discussing their returns from war. When another vet described losing his best friend, something triggered a violent flashback in Thomas. "Get down!" Thomas shouted, tackling the Vietnam-era veteran across from him. "Sniper on the ridge! Get down or you're dead!" Chaos erupted as Thomas, lost in a combat scenario, dragged the terrified man toward perceived cover. Staff attempted restraint, but Thomas's combat training made him formidable, even confused. Somehow Valor forced his way through 2 doors and raced into the room. Rather than attacking, he inserted himself between Thomas and the staff. The dog pressed against Thomas's legs, then circled him once before sitting directly before him, gaze locked on his face. The effect was immediate. Thomas froze, his rage replaced by confusion. Then, a moment of clarity as he sank to his knees. What's happening?" he murmured, looking around as if seeing the room for the first time. The connection was brief. As staff checked on his victim, Thomas's confusion transformed to rage, not at the veteran, but at Valor. "What the hell is this, huh?" He shouted, scrambling backward. "Some kind of trick? Using animals to manipulate me?" The incident led to an emergency staff meeting. Thomas had barricaded himself in his room, refusing meals and medication. "This dog is triggering severe reactions," the facility director argued. "We have other patients to consider." After debate, a compromise. Valor would have 48 hours before being returned to the military program. The next morning found Thomas in the garden, struggling with fragmented flashbacks. He didn't notice Valor approaching until the dog sat directly before him. "Get away from me," Thomas growled. "I told them to keep you away." Valor didn't move, amber eyes fixed on Thomas's face with determination. Thomas stood abruptly. "I said get back! I don't know you!" He started walking away, but staggered as another flash hit. The village again, this time with a chemical odor beneath the dust. The disorientation dropped him to one knee. When his vision cleared, Valor was again before him, unwavering. "What do you want from me?" Thomas demanded, voice cracking. He shoved the dog with both hands. Valor absorbed the impact, refusing to be moved. A soft whine emerged, not pain, but determination. "Get away!" Thomas shouted, scrambling backward. "I don't know you! I don't remember you!" His back hit the garden wall. Thomas slid down, drawing his knees up defensively. The enormity of his situation crashed over him. A man with no memory, no identity beyond what others told him, trapped between fragmentary flashbacks and a meaningless present. "Just leave me alone," he whispered. The retreat of pause didn't come. Instead, Valor approached with deliberate calm. The Malinois circled once, then lowered himself with precise ceremonial movement. He stretched out before Thomas, placing his head directly on the toe of his boot in a specific position, chin down, ears alert, eyes angled to meet Thomas's gaze when raised. Thomas went completely still. Something about the precise angle of Valor's head, the weight against his boot, sent an electric current of recognition through him. The garden blurred, overlaid with another scene, dusty ground, tactical gear, night vision, and this exact pressure against his boot. "Wait position," Thomas whispered, the words emerging from muscle memory. "Hold position." Valor's ears twitched forward at the command, becoming even more still. Thomas stared at the dog, heart racing as fragments began to align. "You? I know this. I know you." The orderly radioed quietly for Dr. Monroe, recognizing something significant was happening. With trembling fingers, Thomas reached out, hovering above Valor's head. When his hand finally made contact, Valor released a sound of such profound relief it seemed almost human. "We trained together," Thomas said, fragments solidifying into memory for the first time since his injury. "North Carolina. You were just a year old, failed the standard program because you wouldn't leave my side during separation tests." Each word brought another piece into alignment. Thomas's hand scratched behind Valor's ear in exactly the spot the dog preferred, a motion his body remembered without conscious instruction. "You slept at the foot of my bunk," Thomas continued, voice taking on warmth, certainty, recognition. "Against regulations. Sanders covered for us because you kept alerting to his hidden whiskey stash." Dr. Monroe watched from the garden entrance, motioning staff to keep distance. Thomas's fingers found a notch in Valor's left ear, a healed split nearly invisible beneath fur. "You got this in Kunar province. A sniper round that came too close. Should have listened to your alert sooner." Valor pressed his head more firmly against Thomas's hand, encouraging the connection. "I used to tell the guys you were smarter than half the lieutenants." Thomas's fingers traced along Valor's neck, finding an old scar beneath the fur. "You took shrapnel meant for me outside Kandahar." Dr. Monroe approached carefully. "Thomas, you're remembering." He looked up, eyes clearer than she'd ever seen them. "Not everything. Just him. Valor." The name felt right now. "We worked together. He was my responsibility, and I was his. Your commanding officer believed your connection might break through the amnesia," Dr. Monroe explained. "Memory is complex. Sometimes emotional connections access pathways logical thinking can't reach." Thomas nodded, hand never leaving Valor's fur. "I still don't remember what happened, how I got hurt, why we were separated. That may come with time, but this is remarkable progress." "He never forgot," Thomas said softly, meeting Valor's steady gaze. "Even when I did." Valor shifted position, rising to sit at attention beside Thomas rather than before him, moving from protective stance to partnered position they had maintained during countless missions. Thomas straightened his posture, hand resting on Valor's back with familiar ease. "I want to remember more," he said with new determination. "I need to know what happened to us." Throughout the following days, Thomas and Valor were inseparable. Each hour brought new fragments of memory as the dog's presence unlocked doors in Thomas's mind. We were deployed together 3 times, Thomas told Dr. Monroe during a session. First time was routine patrol and explosive detection. Second deployment, they switched us to direct action missions because of how well we worked together. Village clearance, like primarily. Valor could detect not just explosives, but people hiding, weapon caches. He had a way of alerting differently for different threats. 1 ear twitch for explosives, 2 for hidden personnel. Saved our unit multiple times. Dr. Monroe noted how Thomas's speech patterns had shifted. More confident, using military terminology accurately, a soldier's cadence returning to his voice. Thomas nodded. Having him here connects me to who I was. I still have gaps. Huge ones. But there's context now. Framework. Specific behaviors from Valor triggered associated memories. When the dog pressed his nose against Thomas's knee, Thomas recalled their silent communication system. When Valor brought a tennis ball, Thomas remembered playing fetch behind their barracks after missions. Michaels, Thomas said suddenly during a walk through the facility, Specialist Kevin Michaels, our unit's communication expert, always carried butterscotch candies for Valor, though I told him not to feed my dog sweets. By evening, Thomas was creating a timeline, writing names and events as they returned. Jenkins, Rodriguez, Patel, he listed. Captain Ellis oversaw our unit. Lieutenant Cooper was our direct CO. Good man. Listened when others would have pulled rank. When recalling a mission where they'd lost a team member, Thomas grew visibly distressed. Without prompting, Valor placed his head on Thomas's knee, grounding him and preventing the memory from becoming a triggering flashback. The last mission, Thomas said finally, voice dropping. Mountain village near the Pakistan border. High-value target using it as a waypoint. 4 teams of 2, each with a handler and dog. He pushed against the barrier his mind had erected around these events. I remember the approach, the village layout, teams splitting up. Valor and I took the eastern buildings. Valor's ears pricked forward, body tensing slightly as if accessing the same memory. There was an ambush, Thomas continued. Not random. They were waiting for us. Too well coordinated. Someone had leaked our operation. His breath quickened. Gunfire from multiple positions, radio chatter. Men down. We were pinned in a courtyard between buildings. Thomas's hand tightened in Valor's fur. Valor alerted. Not to shooters. We knew where they were. Something else. He kept trying to block my path, giving the explosive signal, but he shook his head. That's where it fragments again. I remember his alert. Then nothing but noise and pressure and darkness. That's enough for today, Dr. Monroe said gently. You've made remarkable progress. The breakthrough came when a delivery truck backfired in the parking lot. The report echoed through the recreation room where Thomas was playing chess. He dropped to a crouch, pulling the other veteran down, scanning for threats. IED, he shouted, present completely overtaken by memory. This time, instead of disorienting fragments, the memory unfolded with complete clarity. We had cleared 2 buildings, Thomas explained afterward. Valor pressed against his side. Michaels and Cooper were pinned down. Ellis was coordinating extraction. Valor and I were moving to support when heavy fire came. His hand moved to a scar on his arm. We made it behind a stone wall. That's when everything changed. Thomas described how Valor's behavior shifted from controlled alerts to desperate attempts to block him from advancing. He kept giving the explosive alert, but I couldn't see the triggers we were trained for. No disturbed earth, no wires. His voice tightened. I thought he was confused by the gunfire. I ordered him forward twice, and twice he refused, something he'd never done. Valor whined softly, as if sharing the memory. Rodriguez was down, calling for support. I made the call to move, despite Valor's warning. Thomas closed his eyes briefly. I ordered him to heal, using the command that overrides his threat response. Halfway there, Valor broke protocol completely. He lunged at me, bit my tactical vest, trying to drag me back. I was angry. Thought his training had broken. I ordered him to release and continue. Thomas's voice dropped. He obeyed that final command, but his body language was wrong. Ears flat, tail tucked, moving like he was being forced toward execution. 10 meters from Rodriguez, Valor suddenly lunged ahead, giving his highest alert bark. That's when I saw it. Nearly invisible wires to a pressure plate beneath Rodriguez. The IED wasn't meant for one soldier, but for any response team. Rodriguez had triggered the first sensor, but his weight wasn't enough. Any additional weight would detonate it. Valor knew all along. When I wouldn't listen, he ran ahead, trying to clear the trigger. I finally understood, started calling for support, had just keyed my radio when... The explosion had killed Rodriguez instantly, critically injured Thomas, and separated him from Valor. My last memory before Walter Reed was Valor standing over me, bleeding from shrapnel, keeping the perimeter while I couldn't move. Thomas looked at the dog, years of emotion in his gaze. I failed him. He gave every warning, and I ignored them. You didn't fail him, Dr. Monroe said gently. You made a judgment call that bit trying to save your teammate, and Valor never gave up on you. That's why I couldn't remember, Thomas realized. My last thought was that I'd killed Rodriguez and endangered everyone by ignoring Valor. The mind protects us from what we can't process, Dr. Monroe explained. Thomas nodded, hand resting on Valor's back. I'm ready now. The following weeks brought remarkable transformation. Thomas's memories returned in a manageable flow as the critical barrier broke. As Thomas recovered, Valor began briefly interacting with other distressed veterans, positioning himself near them before returning to Thomas's side. He's always been able to sense when someone's struggling, Thomas explained. It's what made him exceptional, reading humans better than we read ourselves. The morning of Thomas's discharge arrived with autumn sunlight filtering through golden leaves. His possessions were packed: clothes, medications, journal, and letters from former unit members. Valor watched the packing, alert but calm. His military vest had been returned alongside retirement paperwork if Thomas chose that path. Dr. Monroe knocked on the door. Everything ready? Thomas nodded, zipping his duffel. As ready as I'll ever be. Your sister confirmed she'll meet you? Yes, still strange. Reconnecting with family I barely remembered months ago. Have you decided about Valor? Thomas's expression turned thoughtful. I'd like to talk it through one last time. They walked to the garden where their breakthrough had occurred, Valor beside them. I've been watching how Valor interacts with other veterans, Thomas began. It's not just me he connects with. It's anyone suffering from the darkness I was lost in. Dr. Monroe nodded. His interventions with patients in crisis have been remarkable. That's what made him exceptional in combat, Thomas explained. Most military dogs detect specific threats. Valor always knew when something was wrong before we had evidence. He sensed shifts in human behavior even experienced soldiers missed. Thomas ran his hand along Valor's back. I always thought our connection made him special. Now I understand it's who he is, this ability to understand suffering. You're considering leaving him here, Dr. Monroe realized. Thomas nodded. The selfish part wants to take him home. He's more than a dog. He's who found me when I was lost. Valor pressed against Thomas's leg as if understanding. But I keep thinking about others still trapped where I was. Veterans with no way back. Thomas's voice thickened. Valor found a path when no one else could. How many others could he help? We've discussed creating a therapy program based on your case, Dr. Monroe said. He wouldn't be just part of it, Thomas insisted. He'd be the heart of it, the blueprint for healing through connections we can't fully explain. Finally, Thomas knelt before Valor, meeting him eye to eye. You've always known your mission better than anyone, he said softly, framing the dog's face with his hands. In Afghanistan, here, you've never lost sight of what matters. Valor's attention was absolute, his focus unwavering. My service has ended, Thomas continued steadily. But yours is just beginning. Others need you now, the way I needed you. Others who are lost and don't know how to find their way back. Thomas pressed his forehead against Valor's. You'll show them the way like you showed me. And when you've completed that mission, I'll be waiting. Thomas stood, composing himself with military discipline. Dr. Monroe will look after you. I'll visit. This isn't goodbye. It's just new orders. He straightened his shoulders. Valor, stay, he commanded gently. For a moment, conflict showed in the dog's body language, the instinct to follow Waring with years of training. Then Valor settled into a perfect sit, maintaining unwavering eye contact. Thomas nodded once. Acknowledgement between equals rather than handler and dog. Then he turned and walked away, each step requiring immense willpower. He didn't look back. Valor remained sitting at attention, watching his partner leave. Only when Thomas disappeared did the dog turn to Dr. Monroe, a silent understanding passing between them. While one mission had ended, another was beginning. Have you ever witnessed the extraordinary bond between a service animal and their human partner? The way they seem to communicate without words, understanding needs that go beyond basic commands. Valor in Thomas's story reminds us that healing sometimes comes from unexpected sources, and that the deepest connections can survive even when memories are lost. What would you do if you were in Thomas's position? Would you have the strength to leave your loyal companion behind, knowing they could help others find their way back from darkness just as they helped you? If this story touched your heart, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more extraordinary tales of service dogs and the lives they transform. Press the notification bell so you never miss our new uploads. Share this video with friends and family who appreciate the remarkable bond between humans and their canine companions. Check out our other canine hero stories appearing on your screen right now, including the incredible tale of a search and rescue dog who found a lost child during the worst blizzard in decades. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, with another brand new video.